What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and do you have a clamshell press just like me? And have you received transfers or heat transfer vinyl and looked at the instructions and it says press this at 50 psi, press this at firm pressure? Sometimes it might say press this at 3 bars. Now, what the hell does all this mean when you just have a knob on the top of your press? So let me back up a little bit and then explain a little bit of what they're doing here. So transfer companies have an in-house press. A lot of times they have pneumatic presses. These presses are what they test their transfers out with. So on their pneumatic press, what they'll do is they'll press the transfers at a certain pressure, at a certain temperature, and for a certain duration of time. Now they complete a perfect press, and then that's their recommended settings that they give to their customers, because they know at these certain settings, this is how the transfer should lay down. So they're giving you the instructions on how to lay them down too. But the big difference is we have different presses, right? A lot of us have manual presses. Some of these big shops have pneumatic presses. So the difference is we don't have a gauge on how much pressure to use. We don't have a gauge on adjusting the PSI. We just have a knob on the top of the press, just like this. So all of us have this knob that's right here. This is how we adjust our pressure. So when you see the numbers like 40 psi, 50 psi, or you see stuff like medium to firm pressure, what does all that mean? How do you gauge what's medium? How do you gauge what's light? How do you gauge what's heavy? So let me show you guys exactly how I do things. For the majority of the transfers, heat transfer vinyl, if it's plastisol transfers, supercolor transfers, a lot of this stuff I press at a heavy pressure. I found that the heaviest pressure for myself works at laying most of the stuff down that I use, with the exception of certain specialty types of vinyls and stuff, but I rarely use that. So most of the time I'm pressing at a heavy pressure, and I'll adjust my temperature setting and duration time to compensate for it. So here's their instructions on here. Press time or press temp 290 to 320 Fahrenheit. Press time 10 to 15 seconds. Pressure 2.7 bar or 2.75 bar, 40 psi. So if you got a manual press like me, what the hell is 2.75 bar and 40 psi? So that's the pressure setting that they use for the pneumatic presses, because they could dial it in. They could say we want to press this at 40 psi, then the air comes down, smashes your transfer at exactly 40 psi, raises up, and then you can pull the transfer off. Now for most of us, all the home guys, we all have manual presses and we don't have that luxury at home. So let me show you how I press this kind of stuff up. Now my press isn't on right now. Don't mind this Teflon sheet. I'm about to start pressing some nylon jackets. That's why I use this. But here is the pressure knob. The way I do this is I'll crank this down all the way. And I'm talking about all the way till you can't go no more. There's no more threads left on the screw. It's tightened all the way up. Then I'll try to press. You can't get a solid press. It won't clamp down because there's too much pressure on there. So I'll back it off a half a turn. Then try it again. Still nothing. Then what I'll do is I'll back it off another half turn. Now I have a solid press. Works perfect. Now I'm at my heaviest pressure setting. So I use this setting when I'm pressing t-shirts and stuff like that. I'll usually mark it on the threads. I'll take a Sharpie and just write a line onto the thread that I could see, so I know, all right, this is my heaviest pressure for t-shirts. Now the next thing I'll do is, say if you wanted to press like a hoodie. Hoodie is a lot thicker than the actual t-shirt, so I'll lay a hoodie down underneath here and then start doing the same exact thing, testing out the pressure, back it off a little bit, still doesn't go down, back it off a little bit, still doesn't go down, back it off another half turn until I get that full complete solid press. And then I'll mark the settings again with a different color Sharpie and say, all right, this line right here is for hoodies, and then I know that the line on the top is for the t-shirts. So you got to remember there's going to be different thicknesses in t-shirts to hoodies, so that's why I do this. Now you want to press at medium pressure, something like that. How do you find your medium to light pressure? Now that you already have the baseline of what the heaviest pressure is, where you could get a solid press and the press actually clamps down and locks down, what you're going to do is back it off from that setting all the way one full turn. So you go one full turn, you press down, and then you could go down maybe another half turn or another full turn, and then you should be at your medium pressure. And then same exact thing, if you want to go from there, back it off a turn or two to get down to your lightest pressure. That way you'll have a good gauge of what's heavy, what's medium, what's light, once you know exactly what your heaviest pressure will be. All right, hopefully that helps you guys out. A lot of people have been hitting me up and asking me, how do you gauge that? You might see videos where people are laying like pieces of paper in the corners and trying to get the right pressure. That works too, but for me, the easiest way to do it is to find my heaviest pressure where I could get a solid clamp down where the press actually locks down, and then I know I'm at my heaviest. So if you start all the way at the end, at the most where the knob doesn't go down anymore, at least you have a gauge. All right, this is the maxed out pressure that I could offer, and then you back it off a half turn only, then try it again, and if it still doesn't completely shut, then back it off another half turn. Once you get it to completely shut, then that's your heaviest pressure. But that's the easiest way to gauge how you're gonna do it, by doing those little small micro adjustments, quarter turn, half turn, till you could get that heavy pressure. All right, hopefully this helps you guys out. I know this video was all over the place a little bit, but for the people that were asking about it, do not get overwhelmed by whatever the recommended settings are. The settings are based on what works in-house for them, and then we have to dial in our own personal settings. So when you get my sample pack, that's why there's gonna be the recommended manufacturer instructions or application settings. Right underneath that is gonna be the settings that I found to work for myself. It might be just a difference in temperature or maybe duration time. Most of the time, everything I press is at heavy pressure. All right, if you got any questions, make sure you leave it in the comments. I try to go back and forth with everybody, like you guys know, or follow me on Instagram, Big Brando TV. All right, catch you guys on the next one, man. Yeah.